Good evening from New York. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Journeys. Welcome to the show, and those of you who are joining for the first time, a hearty welcome. Our guest tonight is a gem of our soil, Cathy Hughes. The lovely lady next to me is Mrs. Cathy Hughes. Cathy, good evening and welcome to CWS Journeys.
Good evening, Selvin. Thanks for having me.
Let me start by saying Cathy Hughes is a media specialist with extensive knowledge of the Caribbean media and advertising environment, a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Jamaica, Bachelor of Arts with honors degree in mass communications with a major in television production. She's currently a member of parliament in the 10th Parliament of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, representing the Alliance for Change. Cathy, if you were not a parliamentarian, media specialist, or in business, what would be your career?
Sorry, say that again. If I were not,
If you were not a parliamentarian, in business, or a media specialist, what would be your career?
what would be my career? I have no talents in music, but I would have loved to have been a musician.
I must ask you this. Why do you get up every single day and do what you do?
Because I do believe that each individual can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the journey I have walked since I returned to Guyana. It's now a good, about maybe 20 years ago. And I love being back home. There are lots of things to do. There's a lot of things that we need to change, and I enjoy my life here.
Talking about journey, I want to go back a bit. Well, way back. Can you
Okay.
give us a glimpse into your life growing up? Well, from the age of 9, at the age of 9 and at the age of 15, what was life like for you growing up in Guyana?
I'm extremely lucky. I had a wonderful upbringing. I have always had very, very supportive family. My parents. At age nine, I was actually living in Guyana in Black Gardens. I have a very, very interesting family. I'm very proud of all my family members. I have my mom used to always say, "Kathy, you're lucky. You have two fathers and two mothers." My parents were divorced when I was about 7 years old, but they both maintained a very, very close friendship. In later years, they both got married and had, I have siblings from their second marriages, and we're a very close family. I like to say that we're a typical Guyanese family and that we've got a mixture of everything in us. I've got brothers that are half Chinese, that have a bit of Chinese in them. We have all of the races in our family. And I think that's one of the things that has made me feel very, very strong that, we don't want to waste time putting racial demarcations on how we live and whether we can succeed. At 9 years old, I was doing ballet at the National School of Dance. And in those days, you did ballet, you did Katak, you did jazz, you did African, you did modern. At 9 years old, I was at St. Agnes Primary School. Loads of friends, doing all the things young people in those days did. It was a very, very happy childhood. Age 15,
Yes.
that's an interesting time. That was St. Rose's High School.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been in fifth form then, preparing for O levels, and at that time, we were actually the first group to do CXCs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I had a selection of friends, a very close and supportive family, very involved in the debating team. In fact, in fifth form, I remember our team from St. Rose's High School had to debate in the final championships of the debating competition. We had to debate St. Stanislaus College. And although my husband was not on the team, I remember he was there in the studio at Radio Demerara trying to distract me. But I'm happy to say St. Rose's won. Yay for the Serviam girls. And, funny enough, though, at age 15, that was also, I figure, my first encounter with political issues in the sense that that's the time we were having some problems in the school. As a year later, I would have been a head girl of St. Rose's in Lower Six. And of course, in 1980, it was a very difficult year.
Mm-hmm.
Head girl, we had protests in the schools, and that's a whole other story. But that was my life at 9 and 15. I've been extremely blessed. I have been extremely blessed.
I'm not gonna come away from your early timeline just yet. I'm
Mhm.
curious who did you become at 21, and while you're answering that, how would you describe the Cathy we have come to know today?
Who did I become at 21? At 21, I was just about, let me calculate, I was just about finishing my university degree in University of the West Indies in Jamaica. And I think I became far more conscious about what it is to be a Caribbean person. One of the things that I loved about UE and the Mona campus was that it was an opportunity to interact with and to meet people who today are my very close friends from the majority of the islands and territories of the Caribbean. Because of the area of study that I did mass comm with international politics, international law, with social sciences. I was very privileged, for example, to have Dr. Hilary Beckles, who's doing a lot of great work in and reparations today. He taught me Caribbean history. I had some great lecturers in international politics and international law. And certainly, I think it was on the Mona campus that I probably discovered the my interest in politics, in development issues, in the Caribbean as a region, and I think definitely that was a fantastic opportunity. It was Mona was a university in all senses of the word university. A lot of research, an opportunity to be different, to speak out, to protest and to be part of several causes. I was very involved in the debating society there, in productions on campus as part of MASCOM. And in 1981, I was even the carnival queen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
So it was it definitely spiked my interest, and I think it was the foundation for who I am today.
And who is this Cathy today?
Who is this Cathy today? It's always difficult to talk about
I
yourself.
know. I
But
know.
I would say, and of course, you didn't give me these questions beforehand.
Yeah.
But I would say that Cathy today is a very, I like to think that I'm level headed. I am very, at times, very emotional. I feel very strongly about things that are not fair. I totally cannot accept the stereotypes that society, especially for me, Guyanese society, tries to put on you. I feel strongly that I will not sit down and just survive. I will not sit down and just, get myself a water, my own supply of water, my own generator. It's sad that I think in Guyana for too long we've all done what we've had to do to survive on an individual level.
Mhm.
And I feel strongly that I am part of a community. And I think that I've been given so much that I have a responsibility to be able to speak out against things that I don't think are fair, um, against inequalities in our society, and most importantly, to speak positively about where we can go.
Mhm.
I have had the opportunity to live in Jamaica, to live in the US. I spent 4 years in Liverpool, England. And all those experiences have made me realize that Guyana has a lot to offer. And I am really very sick and tired of hearing about the potential, which I heard my entire
Mhm.
lifetime. And so I feel strongly about realizing that potential.
You know, when you mentioned just now that it was at Mona, you got the inspiration to get involved in politics in a certain way. And I remember, because we grew up together, I remember your experience with protesting whilst you were in high school. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to find where the whole genesis came from. Do you think it started there and Mona just sort of helped to amplify it? What kind of influence you think being at St. Rose's would have had?
I think definitely St. Rose's. Now I look back on it in retrospect, I would agree with that. And what's very funny is that it's only recently that, I met an old friend from St. Rose's High School who I literally had not seen for 30 years. And she said to me, "Oh, Cathy, I always knew you would be involved in politics and also in parliament." And that was a big shock to me because in growing up and in all that I've done, I never ever thought, hey, I want to go into parliament. And I certainly didn't think that I wanted to be a politician, quote unquote. In fact, I like to say that politicians in most parts of the world are considered the scum of the earth. So, who would choose to be a politician? I think it's a case where it more chooses you. But certainly in Guyana in 1979 and 1980, for anybody who was there at that time, we had challenges in our education system. We had shortages of textbooks. And I remember becoming very agitated that the system did not seem to allow us to be able to acquire our own textbooks and to set up a system of sharing it with other schools. So I always like to think and reflect on the days I was doing A-level literature. And imagine at that time we couldn't get copies of Julius Caesar. And so, because my mother at the time worked with Guyana Airways, Sister Hazel at the time had made some contacts with the nuns in Barbados and had made arrangements for us to purchase copies of Julius Caesar. And my mom was going to bring them to Guyana on one of her trips. And when it actually came to Guyana, it was held at the airport because they didn't want us to have it. They wanted us to pay duty, which would have made it, totally intolerable. And at that time, I remember thinking, okay, instead of having no one have access to it, why can't we set up a system where maybe in the first term, St. Rose's did Julius Caesar, the second term, another school did Julius Caesar. And, I was looking for positive solutions to the challenges that we had. The challenges of the day were shortages of foreign exchange. It was a totally different time. Um, and so I think that was my first encounter with having to deal with a political administration and politics, and quite often the folks in charge having to maintain what they consider their agenda, not necessarily being able to provide the best opportunities for young people. So yes, I think St. Rose's and that situation at that time did influence me heavily.
Kathy, your mom passed in recent years. Is it okay for me to talk about her or ask you about her?
Yes, certainly.
Okay,
Go
and,
ahead.
and the only reason I'm bringing this up because I know her personally. I've met her and I've had the privilege of meeting her and know of her character.
Yeah.
If there is any particular, or let me put it this way: when you think of some of the strength and wisdom she would have instilled in you as a child, what comes to
Yes.
mind?
Well, my mom used to say that I was part my father and part her, and I think that is very true. I think my mom had a fantastic personality. She loved meeting people. She loved dancing. She loved going to the theater. She introduced us to the theater at a very early age. So we always had, and I always had, a great appreciation for the arts, for drama. My mom, in fact, was very involved with Theatre Guild and was an actress on stage for many, many years in Guyana. So we grew up with that kind of environment, a very liberated environment. My dad was a little, he was a little quieter, but he was definitely a Caribbean man. Spent his entire life working with the Caribbean Broadcasting Union. He helped to set that up. He helped to set up the Caribbean News Agency. When we went to Jamaica, he actually was setting up a regional office for
Oh,
the UNESCO, the first regional office that they had in the region. And then my dad.